Hey folks, Steve here with another BCS video. This is going to be turn one of Baptism by Fire. And just quickly before we get into playing, I wanted to point out what I've also done. If you watched the last video, I described the victory point bingo chits and various things. The other thing I'm going to point out, I've also put some dice around the edge of the table at the reinforcement points. With each pip of the die up there, you can kind of see, here, here, here. There's a few others on the other sides of the map. Um, the possible number of formations that could reinforce there. Green die is for Americans, black is for Axis, or I guess I should say green for the Allies because there are British here. Green for the Allies, black for the Axis, and it's what could be there. So in a couple of places in the reinforcement chart, we could have, say, American units come in like one of three different entry hexes. So I gave each one of those a pip. So it's not, there's definitely going to be one in each or whatever. It's the maximum number. So as both sides are progressing across the map, we know, looking ahead, without studying the reinforcement chart, that yes, there will be at least one or two or however many enemy formations that will show up there, and we'll have to balance the frontage of our fighting forces accordingly. And the big takeaway, I think, at least for the moment, is that generally the Germans are going to have forces coming from the south and the east. The Americans are going to have some slight forces coming from the south, mostly from the west and north, really mostly the north more than anything. And in fact, we have the potential for up to four formations could reinforce uh, here down the sort of center lane to the center of the map. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing because congestion can be a problem. Too many ghost trains and HQs overlapping with each other. And really, the full road down south, there's really only one good road. And so we'd have to break off some of our formations to go east, basically, which we may want to do anyway. So I have to be cognizant as the Germans, where there are going to be more Americans coming, right, or more allies, and then likewise as the allies, I need to think about where the Germans are going to be coming from, and what are my options for reinforcing because I don't want a bunch of formations stumbling over each other unless they're buddies. And if you're not familiar, buddies just means if a formation is part of a buddies relationship with another formation or multiple formations, those units can cross streams between their HQs and combat trains. They can be mixed and all of that without suffering the penalties. So you kind of treat them as like one big formation, even if they activate separately and have different formation designations. And really, for the Germans, where on the first turn this matters more than the Allies, we have these two forces, the Rhyme KG and Gert KG. They're buddies, so if they have to intermix to do whatever it is they want to do, they can do that. And then down here, we have the Stankov and Schacht KGs that are also buddies. I might be missing some letters in the full names because of the abbreviations here, so you guys will have to forgive me for the moment. But yeah, the color of the counters. So while this game does not have unit banners on the counters, they do have these units that are functionally able to be buddies together are all this sort of lighter yellow tan color, and then likewise for these other German units, they're sort of this other brown color. They are differentiated pretty well on the counters and on the unit cards here. So really not going to have any mix up there. They're buddies as other units join the fray. We may need to pay a little bit more attention to who's what and where, and who can be buddies in general. Just to show that, because I'm going to mention this, I'm going to try to mention this once and then not cover it too much. All combat commands of the 1st Armored Division are buddies for the Allies. So we have the Combat Command A down here. We have the Combat Command C. I want to say Combat Command B shows up in a couple of turns. They're all buddies, but some of these other task forces like the Stark Task Force. What will eventually come on is the Nick British uh, formation, 34th Infantry. All the rest of those guys, despite being green American counters, they are not buddies. So we'll have to watch out for that. This is one of the games that had come out before they started adding the unit stripes, the formation stripes, the banners. Call them banners. I guess it's easier to call them stripes. Um, and they're a bit missed here. They worked really well in Panzer's Last Stand. They work well in AirCore. The system they had not adopted that in the aesthetics of the game system. So we'll deal with that. Anyway, the very first player is the Axis. So we will begin with an Axis activation. I almost changed my mind and went to chit draw, and then I went back. But it's going to be something, we're going to have kind of a staggered activation that's going to look a little bit something like this in terms of this isn't the order that I'm going to go in, but just the idea that, Axis goes first, then the allies, Axis, allies, Axis, allies. Axis is going to, because they have more chits, they're going to go last, which could be very helpful, especially if you get back-to-back activations across the turn. Both sides have the air points. I talked about that last video. And the important thing is all four of the German formations that we get started here are all fresh for fatigue level, meaning they're going to get some bonuses. That may not last very long, but it's still good to have, and I think we want to try to make use of what we can that way. Also want to point out that because we have units in terrain here, it's going to be harder for the armor to get shots on those guys, attack by fire or whatever, or rather, if they had any support, which I guess they don't. So the terrain's going to matter a little bit here, but I think that matters more for engagements, and right now I don't think we need to worry about that. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So let's decide who's going to go first. At this point, it's really hard to decide like what makes the most sense. I do like the idea of making some ground down here, trying to disrupt the screen and be heading this way. To do that, the Axis needs to. I mean, we can have guys come off within this zone. The zone is pretty broad, all things considered. But what we need to be able to do is head north, kind of clear the track line so that our HQs can advance properly for supply, because we can't trace supply off all of these hexes. So clear the screen with some of these units, advance, get a solid hold, and then, kind of have the Combat Command A sandwiched between some of these forces, and then our more northern force right here, just slightly off camera. And then eventually we're going to have, later activations, we're going to have Ryan's group also kind of head west, but I want to start steering them north so that they can, they're going to be skirting the edge of these boxes to disrupt the Combat Command C. So that's their real goal here. That's the idea. So if I were playing with orders, my orders would be something along those lines. But I feel like in a solitaire situation, doing the orders optional rule is just maybe a little too much overhead for just getting to play this really awesome system. So um, I'm gonna pick, I guess, either the shocked uh, formation or Stankoff. Um, Shock makes more sense to me because again, I want to try to disrupt the screen if I can. Now, what I can try to do is try to fire on the screen. This unit, and let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys, so it's easier to see. This recon unit, in terms of engagements, is basically just a value 3, um, which means, let's say this armor unit here does an engagement. Well, its value is a 7, 2 plus 5, 2 armor value plus the action rating of 7 versus a measly 3 is a +4, which is very likely to cause some step losses. And I do think we want to do that. We want to try to get rid of those screens because those screens are going to be so annoying over the course of the campaign. If we can jump on them a bit now, that would be ideal. And doing it via engagements is the best way to give those guys step losses. I'll also point out that, very generally speaking, there's not a lot of artillery on map or in many of the formations here. The German HQs, if I can find them. So there's 3 artillery between both formations, which is not a whole lot. It's nice to have, but not a whole lot. We don't have any assigned artillery points, and then for the other German formations over here, they each have 1 artillery point. So very generally, I can't expect to do a lot of damage with destruction barrages. It's more likely I'm going to have to use those things for suppression to hope to do damage in assaults, which is a damn shame because there's so much kind of clear open terrain that being able to launch those kinds of attacks with artillery would be incredibly devastating. I suspect that we'll find that the Americans are going to have a lot of artillery, and that will maybe be the doom for some of my Axis units. We'll see. So yeah, so let me think about do a discount double check on activating this first formation if that's really what I want to do, and we'll get underway proper here. Okay, so let's get the activations underway here, and we're certainly going to be going with the shoot formation. So I think I was maybe saying shocked just because I see an SCHT. It's shoot. So the shoot formation will activate. We'll just go with them first. We'll see what happens here. So we're going to take the HQ. We'll just flip that guy, and we'll be able to see. It's a little, maybe if I zoom in, it would help. But just to know, this HQ has a 4-pip die on it, meaning when we finish this first activation, we would be able to activate immediately again for a double activation on a 4, 5, or 6. And because they currently have a fresh fatigue, that would be a +1, so we would activate again on a 3, 4, 5, or 6. We're going to have fatigue after the first activation, so it's possible we could lose that bonus. But so it goes. We're going to activate, and I've got the units set up here. The ideal goal here is we use our armor, we push the screen out of the way, and then that opens up the door for us to go. I'm going to have to go, like, the HQ has to go kind of down, out, and around. But we want to try to get in behind the American position and kind of be in their backfield if we can, and let the other forces sort of, punch through the other areas that the Americans have. So that's the idea anyway, and we'll see how it goes. So the very first thing we're going to have to do is roll for snafu. Now the bonuses or the modifiers for the snafu die roll are going to be pretty good for us. We have fresh fatigues, that's +1. We also have a game specific DRM, so it's up on the turn track. I guess I'm not gonna show that right now. It's just a +1 for the axis right now, so that's 2. We're optimal distance because our combat trains are in an entry hex, so that's +3. But because we are using the track here, then that's a -1, even with good trafficability. So it comes out to be a +2. So we roll and see if we get a full snafu, a full activation. And we do, so a 10 plus 2 is 12. We're good to go. We only needed a 7. So we'll activate, and I guess maybe I'll just flip this so we know that they'll be done here. What I want to do is I want to clear the screen. So what I think I should do, and before I forget, because it's easy to not get this right, I need to set an objective. I don't think I'm going to attack anywhere else this activation, so what I'll do is, with a full activation, oh man, okay. Apparently the objective marker that I grabbed did not have a double objective on the back. So, well, before I go fishing for that, we'll just say that's a double objective. double objective here, and we'll get another +1 on any particular thing we really want to do, which is going to be for our track unit to go 1, 2. Now that's a 1, 2 because the screen is adding a movement point to each hex. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to do an attack an engagement. So these guys only have a 3 engagement rating, so 1 armor value plus 2 action rating, versus our 7 for this unit, 2 plus 5, so 7. Which, and then we'll get a +1 effectively because of the double objective. It's going to be real bad. So 8 to 3, a +5. There's no way we're not going to hit this guy. Yeah. So while they're in screen, it's possible to avoid step losses. We're going to end up hitting them. And I guess for wanting to retreat 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Retreat 3 hexes. Now we only moved 4 movement points, and that armor still has its second thing. Now, this unit's outside the range of our double objective, but engagements don't require an objective marker, so we can keep going. So this would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I guess maybe I could be crossing that. What is that? A stream? Oh, prohibited. It's potentially prohibited. Okay. Oh, in the rain it's prohibited. Okay. Well, so we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get there, and we're going to do it again. We can do it again. I would like to do it again. We don't get quite the same bonus, but still +4. Yeah. So he takes another step loss and is going to retreat 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We're not going to be able to get close enough. We couldn't chase him anymore, and he's finished anyway. So that's it for that guy. And we kept him in movement mode rather than flipping to an even more powerful combat mode because we needed to move very quickly to push him out of the way. Now we don't have to worry about movement issues. We can get rolling right away. And so we'll get the HQ moving and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe I could have done that more efficiently and have them start somewhere else, but that's fine. We need to keep these guys kind of together anyway. Let's see, are we in danger of having somebody stomp on us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Not enough to stomp on us, so I think we're safe to leave that guy there for the moment. And then we'll have these guys basically go 1, 2, 3, 4. The open terrain being worth 2 for truck. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, still in range of the HQ. So we're ideally coming around this way is the hope there in movement mode. They do have red support here, so that infantry is in pretty good shape just to keep progressing and isn't in a lot of danger. Right here is kind of open. That could be a problem, but their flank is protected by the Stenkov formation. So we're kind of in good shape there. I'm pretty happy with that. Beaten up on the screen, and we're good there. So I think, let's see, we got to roll for fatigue now. So we only did a engagement by fire, so a 3 or higher, we don't lose fatigue. But we get fatigue, so we go to fatigue 0, which is a bummer. It means we no longer get the bonus on the double activation, which is what we'd like to do next. So rolling, I need a 4, 5, or 6. And we got a 4, so we did get it. So I'm going to flip this guy over. We'll roll for snafu again, and we get it, a full activation again. And now I need to think a little bit harder about how I want to operate here. I think I would want to be trying to disrupt that screen, but I think I've pushed them out of the way that the Stenkoff formation could advance and could be in reasonably good shape here uh, to operate on its own. So I may want to use this opportunity to kind of race down and away. Uh, but I would like to try to disrupt that guy somehow, some way or another. So I need to think on this. Okay, yeah, we're gonna with the second activation here, we're gonna have this guy go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then indeed have a engagement here. I'm using the objective to get the bonus because I don't see myself attacking anybody else right this second, right this activation. We're gonna do that with other units. So um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll uh, we'll do the die roll here, and yeah, he is toast. So last step, the bonus is just so strong here, eliminating the unit, eliminating. Let's move the objective out of the way. So now, without the screen, we have a lot more space to work with here. So uh, we can keep moving because that was only one fire event. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I think that's going to be enough. Yeah, we can hold here. So we're sort of coming out around, and what we'll do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we'll there we go. So all those guys are in command, and then it's a question of do we want to move our combat train. Again, I'm not terribly worried about this, so we can very easily just sort of keep things going. If you move your combat train, you can just pick it up, move it. Um, Good to go there, and uh, really these guys would be sitting on top of this. I guess is how I would have set that up, I suppose. Um, so there, nice kind of skirting out around in pretty good shape for that. Moving the combat trains, they can't really get jumped. They're not really in danger. If these guys want to come down and fight Stankoff, they're probably going to have a bad time. So I feel pretty good about that maneuver. So we sort of cut through, return to our supply lines, um, and we're good there. We're going to roll for fatigue. And this time we don't gain fatigue. So these guys are done. Pretty good activation. I feel decent about that. And oh, actually, gosh, this is an Axis supply source, so there's really no reason not for me to stick that guy right there. And that's actually a much better, safer place. So now we're basically extending the limit of the formation's operations to this sector of the map. So we've managed to slide to the west a decent degree, and that's the end of that activation effectively. Pretty good. I feel pretty good about that. A good progression into the space, and we're on a made road line, which is going to improve uh, the trafficability situation. It's going to offset by being ghost trains the next time we try to activate, but We should still get a pretty good activation next turn on the next day, and they're going to be in much better logistical a better logistical situation operating. So something to think about, right? Like this, as you saw, right, this entire formation, not like this is a how to play BCS video, but since I'm doing more detail for turn one, purpose was eliminate the screen so that we're not going to get slowed down, and screens are really important on this map, I'm going to think. And we've flanked, right? We could have dove right into here, but we didn't. We're going to move around and see if we can either force the Americans to retreat, or if they don't, they're going to get caught up in our attacks. And we've improved our logistical command and control capability because now we're shifting over, so we're going to be in better shape. Eventually, we'll want Stinkoff to do the same thing, but for now, that's just as good. And now we can focus on things elsewhere for the day. But now it's going to go back to the Americans, the Allies, and they're going to have to activate either the Stark Task Force, which I don't know if that really does us any good. That feels so far away. So otherwise, it's a choice between the Combat Command C, which is further up north there, which maybe we know that there's going to be another Axis formation coming. So do we simply want to give up the victory hex? I would think not, which means I probably ought to activate the Combat Command A, and then it's a question of what can be done. We've got some foot units that aren't going to move very fast. We're stuck with just a handful of armor-based units that could try to contest the Axis armor, but generally speaking, all of these units are going to be at a disadvantage fighting the Axis. So we're going to have to think that through. I'm going to take a minute off camera to figure out just what can we try to achieve this turn, and yeah, try to do that. So yeah, let's take care of that. Okay, in the act here of trying to activate the Combat Command A, I need to point out a couple of things that have to do with the special rule here. Um, this unit, and this unit can, if you want, you can leave them there, and they will not attrit. They will be out of command, but they can stay that way. But as soon as they leave their starting hex, that's when they become susceptible to isolation. So what may happen here is if the Germans kind of bang their way through, disrupt, these guys start retreating or falling back. You can leave them out here, but as soon as they move, either to disrupt supply or to do something else, um, that's when they start to attrit away. So they're not particularly useful, and they're relatively weak units. They have a certain number of steps, certainly, but they're going to have some trouble, uh, fighting once they are isolated. If they get attacked and they retreat out of their starting hex, then they're going to start to attrit via isolation. If we get pushed back, which we ultimately will. The command range of this Combat Command A HQ is only 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can get a little bit more out of the tracing of a safe path, but not very much, and they'll start to fall apart anyway without being able to actually disrupt a main supply path or jump HQs, because they can't do that when they're out of command range. And again, they'll leave their starting hex. They're going to be subject to all those penalties. So it's kind of this weird thing. Like, what is the use of these 3 units? I'm sure someone can try to tell me a better way to leverage them, but right now I'm not seeing them being super valuable, especially if they get chewed up. The HQ and the armor units get chewed up. This is just a single step unit. He may get brushed aside very quickly. These other units, not particularly strong either. So it becomes, what do you try to do with them? If I were to turn them onto their mobile side, we can say that they become unprepared and they can move, basically 4 movement. And maybe our only benefit here is they could at least go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and get closer. They'll still get beat up. Or I try to inch them along going by foot 1-2 and staying in combat mode, but that doesn't really put us in a very solid or good position around here. And even the villages that we see aren't particularly useful to hold. They provide some terrain coverage, but it's we're just going to have to do something. So I think what I need to try, for better or for worse, I guess, before I flip this guy, I guess I need to do my snafu roll. So we're going to activate. We're going to try to do snafu. We'll see where we get to. Now we do have the benefit of. Let me double check here. Yeah, we do have the benefit of being on the road, the main road, so we don't have to worry about trafficability concerns. So that's fine, but we do have some existing fatigue. So -1 for the fatigue. We are optimal distance, and so that offsets each other, and the trackability doesn't matter. So it's a straight die roll for the snafu, and we get a 6, which is only a partial, which that actually really hurts. So what can we do? Maybe we need to abandon these guys because moving 1 hex isn't going to do much, right? Maybe we do that. That's not going to do much. Maybe we are going to have to leave these guys. I don't know what else to do with them. Maybe we get lucky and we just pull back. This is one of those things, like they're either going to be useless or they're going to continue to be useless. So what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do here? I don't see very many good options. Period. So I think maybe we do that, and then not having very many other options. Hmm. Well, maybe we just hold. We try to move these guys back, and we hope for a secondary activation. I don't know what else I can do other than pull back even farther, um, which would not be good for these guys. But really, nothing is good about the situation. So I think I've got to try maybe to pull back the HQ. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Um, Yeesh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to end up taking some attrition, I think, because he's totally out of scope, which is not great, as it happens. But if we try to pull back, and then maybe what we do is try to hold some of the junction lines and just hope for a second activation. I don't know. This is one of those things. It's like, hey, this might not be a good move, but I guess if I was playing chit pull and I just pulled the chit, it'd be just as bad. Do what you can, hope for the best. I don't like the position, but there's not a whole lot more that I can really do without getting torn to shreds anyhow. So we're gonna have to try this. Go for the well. We don't need to get fatigue because all we did was move, and so we didn't place an objective. And so we'll try for the second activation, and we miss it. So that's really all we get, which is not great. I will say that definitely not great, and um, very liable to get put into a bad situation. But I feel like that's just kind of the way this has to start, right? It kind of has to go a certain way. So next up, I do think now is a really great time to activate this formation here, which just in the proper way of Gerhardt. Um, we'll activate his formation here, and if we see, he's fresh, so that's a +1. And optimal distance, yes, so +2. And then he's going to have the snafu arrow +3, so very likely going to get a full activation. Yes, we get a full activation. And so what'll probably end up happening here, and I'm just going to move the trains and the HQ out of the way for a second, is we've got a Pioneer unit. He's going to mostly defend the HQ. But then these two units are going to be our main sort of operational guys. And what's really important, just to show, this is one of those units that can, if I get the focus, that is a infantry and attack capable unit with tactical movement, which means that these guys can do 2-shot combats and then also a regular combat, which may prove very valuable because the Combat Command A, they don't have support. So we just really need to bang out some of the armor. And then we have a lot more leeway to operate. So probably the very first thing we'd want to do is, let's see, we did 1, 2, 3, have this guy on the movement side, and then use a fire on this armor unit there. I guess I can always zoom in for a little bit more fidelity here. And so, we would do, let's see, does it make sense to do a secondary objective or not? No, we'll do a double objective here, and that'll be the focus of this effort. And so we'll have what's functionally 9 to 5, so +4. And yeah, target loss. So this unit is destroyed. He only had a single step. And then what I would probably want to do is, now that he's eliminated, move to here, and then probably attack by fire across the, let's see, what terrain is that? Wadi? Oh, that could be a problem. What's the Wadi? That is apparently not blocking terrain, so we can certainly take a shot at him, and we'll go ahead and do that. Now he's not in terrain, he's just flat out open, and so a 4 to 6 will deal a step loss, and we got it. So I'll have to grab a step loss marker and round the corners there and get that applied. Okay, now with that complete, we have some options here. So we could have this guy run up. Now his combat mode is leg movement, which I suppose we could leverage, but I would much rather have this be movement, and his tactical rating's the same on both sides. So we could have him, well, and he can ignore. Let's see, how do we want to do this? We could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Try to jump the HQ, and then we could, basically move back if we wanted to. So let's try that. So we're gonna run this guy out. He's gonna jump. We're gonna treat this. I guess I'm gonna do soft jumps. I don't know. So let's see. It's gonna be either a 5 or a 6. That's gonna matter here. And I got a 6, so it is in fact a hard jump. So I have to retreat 3 hexes. I would do like that probably. Flip the train to ghost, which is further beyond where you guys can see, but I'll go ahead and flip it now. So flipping to ghost, that won't be good for them. Remove prepared defense. Okay, well, we didn't have any, and we will need to apply a coordination marker. So I need to find, there it is, coordination marker. We'll clip that counter and apply it. So not great, certainly. I'll just stick it on the HQ for the moment. Now, the positioning of this, it could go, basically, uh, could go now, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I could try to jump them again. I think the damage is really, really largely done there. So it's more about where would we like to attack elsewhere, to disrupt things. Now, we could try to come down here and cause a problem, though I don't feel like that's maybe the best use of our energy. We could do 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the Wadi doesn't appear to have any impact here, so we can certainly do a shock attack or more here and just try to eliminate the unit. We could also look at using um, our artillery for a destruction barrage. So I think I'm going to do that. So we'll do it, and we do give him another step loss, and then if we do some shock attacks, let's see, do we have support? We don't. Double objective zone, yes, so +1. And yeah, so this is still a really good die roll on the attack chart. Yeah, so 8 plus. Okay, D1 and a retreat. So D1. And then because this is an automatic retreat, whether or not he has a safe path, I guess, is going to be the key thing here. So let's see. I had to go calculate. I'm reasonably confident now there's no safe path for this unit. Trying to count basically the 10 hexes, 5 for the command range plus 5 hexes to establish a safe path for retreat here. And I don't think they can. If there is a retreat result and the unit is leg MA, each unit suffers 1 additional step loss. Yeah, if no safe path exists, and there is no safe path because a safe path length has to be a certain length, and due to the Zocs that apply here, it takes too many hexes. I was trying to figure out the most efficient way to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we can't go to this hex. 9, 10. But that's not close enough, and I do not believe the 1 hex more applies like an OCS. So I think this guy's just eliminated, and so we'll take him off the board. So he advances. And we continue to move because that was just 1 fire event, and that was a shock attack. So we're expanding out our reach here. 1, 2, 3. we'll just do that, and we'll advance out, and we'll see about fatigue. And if I got that wrong just now, let me know, guys. But my reading of the rules says that guy's he's out. He's out of it. Um, so we're gonna do fatigue. They avoid fatigue, which is really good for them, and now they're going to roll for continuation, and they get that too. So we're going to do a second activation now with these guys. We'll clear our double objective, and I know it didn't say double objective, but we got a full activation. I only place one objective until I can find my double objective marker. And we'll do the activation. So we have fresh fatigue, goodness, optimal distance, yes. So +2. Traffic ability doesn't matter. So yeah, +2, which is really good. And we once again get a full activation. So now I need to think about where do we want to go from here. I do think it makes some sense to kind of bang down the road and try to take out their recon unit, which is not currently in screen. I guess I should have put him. In screen. I'm going to go ahead and do that and just have him have moved there and have put a screen on. Maybe it's better to try that. And maybe even better to have tried to like move to the wadi and put on a screen. This is a little bit like cheating, I guess, in favor of the Americans, but I feel like I probably should have put somebody in screen. The reason they can go in a screen is that is a, oh wait, no, I can't. That's not a, never mind. That's not a screenable unit. I'm sorry, guys. That is a mechanized infantry, which might be one of the better units. So I do think picking on this guy is not a bad idea if we can knock him back. So let me try to figure out what I want to do with this, see if we can't continue to stomp all over. What I'd probably want to do is flip this armor to movement mode and send him, careening through as best we can. Let me do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and maybe try to jump these guys and then continue to fight all through here. So let me think through that. Okay, I've gone through and ran through the activation and the second activation here. So we've have managed to really put the hurt on as it happens. So the infantry unit that was here, we just simply eliminated him with a combination of artillery and attacks, as you had seen, and then we had sprung forward and we knocked the mechanized infantry back. We've knocked them back a little bit with some of our armor, and then we had sent it down this way, and a combination of engagements and artillery destroyed the fairly weak tank destroyer unit here. So that cleared the way, forced another jump, though this was a soft jump of the HQ, but is really just sending them backwards, and then jumping of the combat trains when we got to here has pushed that back. So they've got all kinds of problems that are going to come in, and we've moved up our HQ and the infantry to this crossroads. Now there's a little bit of some danger here where we can see kind of an open area where these guys could go, and certainly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could try to jump some things, but they're going to be taken. Basically they're going to be taking isolation, and they're going to be out of command range too. So really, these guys are they've been effectively cut off. And if we zoom out for a second and just try to take stock of the whole map situation, again, the formations here are moving up. These formations still can move up, and we'll probably do the cleanup on these units as they start to attrit away over time. So basically getting into a pretty good position to where Gerhardt can continue to push west. Um, we can, if we want to, have Shoot continue to do some cleanup work. More likely, they're going to start heading west as well, and then we can lean on Stankoff as the cleanup crew on these forces. And we've still not activated Rhyme either, so we still have two more German formations to activate, and basically in a really good position to make some ground, start advancing into enemy territory, and feeling pretty good about that. So we're going to have to go back to the Americans now, and we really only have two choices. We have the Combat Command C up there in the north, or we have the Stark formation. I really do not see um, any good way to make use of the Stark force right now, other than to, I mean, I really don't know what to do with them at the moment, other than to be prepared to hold back some of the Germans that could come straight west. There's this track line that you can take all the way west to get to this region, and I don't want that to happen. But also maybe need to move up and control the pivot point in the middle of the map. So kind of a tough decision there, but there's no immediacy to the Stark Task Force activating. So I think I have to try to work with the Combat Command C and see if we can make something happen with them. I'm going to start to move these cards around a little bit to ease up the map burden here. So yeah, I think I've got to activate these guys, but I don't have any good, like, what's a good move to make right this second, other than maybe pull all the way back to the center of the map. And by doing that, we would be giving up some, victory point locations. So that's kind of tough, but we'll go ahead and look to activate them. Now they have fatigue 0. The optimal distance is a +1, and I want to say that's it. So theirs is really just a +1, and I get a full activation. So we'll have a full activation with the Combat Command C. I need to think through what to do here, because I do know in this reinforcement area E, which they're right nearby. There's going to be let's see, when do they show up? Okay, not until the 19th are we going to have the Gerhardt group come back. So we actually can, at least for the moment, ignore this black die, ignore this entry zone up here in the north, and kind of pivot south. And with a full activation, we can actually get into a very reasonable position back here, I think. So I think that's what we're going to look to do. What it may mean is that we don't actively try to engage the Americans, but we're going to try to get into a better position. Whether or not the Germans actually try to take this, I mean, I probably would want to, just to be covered there and get some of the victory points on the off chance we get the Leclef marker. So yeah, I don't know. Weird decisions to make here, guys. But let me play through a bit, and we'll show where things get to. Okay, I have sort of played through the rest of the activations because they were pretty simple. I had forgotten that the task force over here starts on his done side, so he actually couldn't activate at all. And so what occurred was that the Combat Command C pulled back, basically gave up the victory hex, and ran down the road to try to get some units in the center spot here, the center of the map, because I feel like it's really important to control the sort of, the center of the axis here. Not to use a pun, but the center of the axle we need to control, need to be able to move down the different spidering roads here, and we needed to protect it. So that's what I decided to do. This did give Rhyme his formation kind of free reign to run up, and I even switched over his train to a new train location, and sort of set up a new angle for them, so they now control this victory hex, even though, I mean, we don't know if it's going to be a real victory hex yet, and just putting somebody on the road there. So they're good. Down here, the Stankoff formation Went north. We cleaned up. We were able to eliminate the rest of the remaining units with a combination of artillery and attacks and everything else. Though right now it does mean both of these formations who are buddies have fatigue 0, so they no longer get the love of having fresh fatigue, which is still the status for these two formations. They've managed to get lucky and they keep their freshness. If only we could get these guys a Mentos or something. Um, and that's really it. That's the rest of the activation. So there's not a lot of units on the board yet. It's all empty space. It's the Americans either getting shut down hard and having to retreat or not being able to move, and the Germans have enjoyed a pretty strong capability to advance, defeat the enemy in detail. We've suffered one step loss where we used this unit to finish off one of the American armor units, and they both sides took a step loss. But that was one I was willing to take to just get them cleared out of the road. And now the rest of our Axis units can continue to, sail down this road, get down this road, and start fighting for the center. If they get control of the center, that puts us in good shape. We can start to send these guys west, maybe, perhaps, to kind of have a nice wide open coverage. Though, we got to be careful because even one formation unsupported can be thrown back and defeated in detail. So we're just gonna have to watch out. What can we achieve? Where are we going to be at? What can we hope to get accomplished? Well, we'll figure all of that out. Um, and yeah, so that's all we've got, and that wraps it up for turn one. Really, so end of turn one, everybody's activated. We're going to go into turn two. There will be some reinforcements coming onto the board for the Axis, and we'll see things continue to develop. But that's it for turn one, guys. That's it for the video. In future videos, we're going to be playing much faster, much closer towards the end of this video where I didn't show every movement. This first turn, I wanted to show folks kind of the beginning of operations so they get a sense of what I'm doing off camera. But now most of the action will be off camera. I expect to only have, a handful of videos after this for this series. Should be relatively abbreviated given the shortness of the campaign, but should be a good one. So thanks for watching, folks. Take care. Keep gaming.